to time and finish no later than 8 o'clock tonight. Obviously the session is being recorded, so if you have anybody else at the club that needs to refer to this afterwards, or if you just want to go back and recap at any point throughout pre-season or any point during the season, you can come back, refer to this presentation and take some stuff away to use on the club portal going forward. So obviously we're here tonight to talk about affiliation for next season. As some of you would have seen through emails and website articles, the process is changing significantly for next season, and probably the biggest changes we've had for the last 7 or 8 seasons. So we'll be going through those in detail in all different types in terms of, you know, why the decision's been made, how it's going to look, and then give you a system demo at the end as well, just to show you and get familiar with the club portal system that you'll be using for this season. So just a bit of ground rules. I know you all do at the moment, but if you could keep your mics and cameras turned off. The chat function is available, so if you have any questions throughout, please don't hesitate to put them in there, and my colleague Nick will be able to manage that function and let me know if there's any questions that need to be answered at the time. If not, we will wait until the end of the session and we can open up the floor for questions, and happy to take as many as possible. Please note that obviously the affiliation process hasn't gone live yet, and up until that point we'll be reporting feedback to the FA about any questions that we don't know the answers to. So we've got a few weeks now to give them some feedback to make sure it's ready for when it goes live in June. So don't hesitate to ask. No questions, a silly question, and we can always feed it back if we need to. So again, thanks for joining. For those of you who don't know, I'm Daniel May, Head of Football Services at Middlesex FA. Also joined on the call tonight by Oliver Ellery, our Football Services Officer in Discipline, and Nick Phipps, our Football Services Officer for Clubs and Leagues, who'll be heavily involved with affiliation as well. Just an agenda of what we're going to cover tonight. So we'll touch on what affiliation is, so we'll strip it right back to basics, and then obviously talk about why it's changing and what it's changing to. We'll talk about the advantages of the new system and how that should hopefully benefit you guys from a customer service point of view and a time-saving exercise as well. There has been changes to the pricing structure for this season, so we'll run through that as well in regards to the rationale and also how that's going to look and impact on clubs going forward. The second half of the session will move more into information in regards to safeguarding requirements. So as there is each year, there's some additional safeguarding requirements, mainly around welfare officers and managers and coaches. So we'll touch on those and also give you some insurance information about our recommended provider and the effect that can play in regards to how the system actually works. And then we'll finish off just with the demo of the system. For those of you who attended the FA's sessions on Monday and Tuesday night, they obviously would have gone through the system at length, and I'll do similar, but hopefully give a bit more of an in-depth understanding to how it will work for our county and in terms of timescales and when the process will actually go live and start for you all. And then finally, like I mentioned earlier, we'll open up for any questions, and feel free to answer as many or ask as many as you want, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go. Perfect. So starting back, and like I said, wanting to strip it right back really as to why we do the process. So affiliation is an annual validation of your club, teams and officials, ensuring that everybody playing affiliated football is meeting a minimum set of requirements. This definition as well is found on the club portal. So when it goes live, you'll be able to see this before you go in, as well as a detailed description in terms of the things that you have to be included in order to affiliate. In order to participate in an FA or county FA sanctioned league and or competition, your teams must be affiliated. And that obviously includes, as it says, sanctioned leagues, but also summer tournaments. So for those of you who are in summer tournaments after the 1st of July, obviously that would then be classed as the new season. So to partake in those, you must be affiliated in time to play those tournaments. So just a note to get on it and get prepared for when it starts in June. We'll touch a bit more on that in a minute. Obviously, the minimum set of requirements changes pretty much each season, and most of those will be around entering leagues, and then managers' details in regards to DBS checks, safeguarding children workshops, and so forth. So the new affiliation process, and just to kind of give a little bit of history and detail into why it's changing and how far we've come. So as of the 2015-16 season, we were still operating with paper forms for affiliation. As you can imagine, that process became quite laborious. A lot of time delays in regards to posting times and staff having to review those and take a little bit of time to get back to you. So obviously that process wasn't fit for purpose. It was replaced in the 2016-17 season by the whole game system, which you've obviously been using for the last few years, and now will be taken over by the club portal, which we feel will be a much more efficient and suitable system for this process. As well as being an upgraded software system, which should make it a bit easier for you, the process will now be 365, meaning that you can affiliate teams at any point throughout the season, and that way it's not just a burden throughout the summer. For many of you, particularly in youth football, who join leagues in phase 2 of the season after Christmas, you now have the option to create and add teams yourself rather than sending emails through to the county for them to action for you. One thing we will say, and this will be a main theme of the presentation tonight, is that although this is a new process and we'll show you how it works, the main focus and onus is on yourselves to make sure you go onto the club portal and make sure the information that we touch on in a moment is all up to date and ready to go to make that process as easy for you as possible. So really use the next month or so to hone in on that and make sure that you review everything and get it ready for when it starts in June. So like I said, club portal. So it's the system that you will use for player registration. So hopefully you'll be used to logging on and seeing what that looks like. The new affiliation system will be placed under the team section. So if you go on there at the moment, it should give you the option to go for a tour, and it will give you a short demonstration of how it might work when it goes live. But further advantage of the system, obviously the fact that it's an upgraded piece of software and the portal will make this experience a bit smoother and efficient for you. There's fewer steps. So previously there's 8 steps to complete this process. There's now only 5. So that clear and simplified affiliation process should hope to improve your experience. You know, we're fully aware that the majority of you are volunteers, and ultimately the reason you're in there is to facilitate the matches that go on a weekend. And you know, this sort of task can often be met with a bit of trepidation and be quite laborious. So for us to simplify this as much as possible is in everyone's best interest, and hopefully you'll see that when the system rolls out in a few weeks. One key thing to note is that the affiliations will be separate this season. So in years gone by, you've affiliated the club, you've been given a club affiliation number, and then you've affiliated additional teams. This season, affiliation is going to be changed into a team-based model, which will give you extra flexibility. So what that means is, for example, in years gone by, you might be a club with 20 teams, and you might have 17 of those teams compliant and ready to move on to being affiliated and playing football. However, you have 3 teams that have hold-ups due to various issues, maybe DBS checks, issues with FA education qualifications going onto fan records, and for that reason, the whole club and the other 17 teams are being held up. Whereas now, what you have the opportunity to do is affiliate teams as soon as they're ready. So if you have those 17 teams out of 20 ready, you can affiliate them straight away, move on, and then just focus on getting those 3 teams ready without holding anything or anybody else at the club up. So hopefully that will be seen as a positive, and will give you that flexibility. And like I mentioned just previously in the last slide about you know, adding teams at different stages of the season, you'll have a bit more flexibility to do that at any stage. Another main benefit of the system is that part of it will be automated. What this means is that if you've met all minimum requirements for your teams, so this is another kind of plea to have a look at the team requirements now to make this situation easy for you. If you have a look at it and everything is ticked and you've got green ticks and everything is ready to go, the system will allow you to affiliate those teams without the intervention of the county FA or the requirement for any further checks. So obviously that means that, you know, that process is a lot more simple for you. You haven't got to wait several days for a response or for feedback from us in terms of your application. You know, you can see on the system exactly what needs to be done, and if it all appears to be correct, you can move forward and affiliate them straight away. So hopefully that will become a lot more easy for you as well. So just touching on the key message about getting prepared. So this is the checklist that we've shared and has come from the FA in regards to things that you need to do before affiliation, and things that you need to do after affiliation as well. So the first thing would be to go on there and check officials and qualifications under the officials tab of the club portal. Number 2 would be to add your club and team grounds. Team grounds is one of the minimum requirements. So in order for the system to be automated and allow you to go through it quickly, they will need to be updated and assigned to teams. Another mandatory requirement is that the club must read and accept safeguarding declarations from the FA. So I'll show you on the system demo later how you can do that. Again, very simple. It's just a case of clicking on a particular section, reading through the declaration, and adopting it as your own. You'll also have the opportunity to tidy up any folded teams. So again, in the past, it might be that you mark them on the system as folded. You can do similar in this way, but it will remove them away from your application entirely, and therefore clear up any confusion that we've had in previous years. The last step to do that we always encourage is to assign teams to the correct league. So what you'll have the opportunity to do is affect that on the teams tab. You can manage leagues and assign them really quickly. And the other point about flexibility is if you do go through the process and for whatever reason you've decided to change leagues in mid or end of July after you've already affiliated, you can go back in there, amend them, and then wait for the league to approve that before it filters through onto their system as well. After the affiliation window opens, you can create new teams, and as mentioned, you can do that at any time throughout the season, and that might be helpful for different things, summer tournaments, festivals, and like I said earlier, joining at different times of the season. And one of the last points, and one quite key point, is that county cups will not be sitting in the affiliation process as it has been previously, so you'll have to enter those separately and be invoiced for those separately, but again, all on the same portal and all very easy to manage and process, and again, something that we'll touch on later on. So that's the checklist that we'd ask you to go away with. If you want to take a picture of that at the moment while it's on the screen, then feel free to do so, and obviously it'll be getting shared around to you all as well, so you'll have the opportunity to come back and have a look at this one and take it forward. On the right hand side, I've bullet pointed 4 areas, and they are the 4 minimum requirements that each team must have in order for the automated system to work. So you must have on there that you've purchased personal accident insurance, and we'll touch on this later, but if you've purchased through our recommended provider, the policy document will be on the system already, which would allow you to move through that step. However, if you are with a different provider, you'll have to manually upload that and require us to check that before you move forward. Other things will be a team ground. So as I mentioned in step 2 of this checklist, you'll need to add and make sure the team grounds are listed, and that is another minimum requirement. A welfare officer must now be assigned for each club, regardless of if you only have adult teams, because there is particular roles now for adult or disability welfare officers. And then also a named manager and or coaches. So if you do have assistant managers and coaches, please make sure they are listed, as that's really important that we know exactly who's out there on the weekend and on the training day, so that we can best safeguard everybody. You know, and obviously for youth managers and coaches only at the moment, there is a mandatory requirement that they must all have DBS check and a Safeguarding Children workshop in date. That has changed, I believe. I don't think the Safeguarding Children course was mandated last season for coaches and managers, so that's another one to note. So again, in the preparation for next month, please do have a review of that. Make sure that everybody's ahead of the game and at least actioning some of those points before you get started. So moving on to the next part. So spoke about earlier that the affiliation will be moving to a team fee model rather than club. And just to illustrate this from financial terms, really. So in the past, you would have had a club fee followed by an additional team fee for each team that you affiliated. So it would have looked something like £20 for an adult club fee and £15 for each additional team that you affiliate. For youth clubs, it would have been an £8 club fee and £7 extra for every team that you affiliate. Now for this season, it's going to be just a team fee model, and obviously the reason for that is that, you know, the flexibility of affiliated teams at different times, and moving over to that model means that it's just going to be a simplified process. So you're going to have a team fee for an adult and a team fee for a youth team. So set fees, and we'll go on to those fees obviously shortly, but hopefully that will, you know, remove any confusion and you know exactly where you stand in regards to cost if you need to affiliate another team. So obviously with that, the fact that there's a loss of club fees across all clubs in the county meant that, you know, there's obviously a loss of revenue for all county FAs across the country in regard to that club fee cost. So having said that, we've had to obviously restructure the pricing for each team fee with that thought in mind. So before I go and show you the fees, I'm going to just talk through some of the research that we conducted before we got to that point. So as you can see on the screen, obviously conducted some, you know, quite a lot of research, different meetings with different parts of the FA, dealing with local county FAs to make sure that what we do is in line with, you know, similarly in line with what they're proposing to their club, so that all of our clubs in our region are well supported. We're fully aware, obviously, and sympathetic to the cost of living crisis that's going on at the moment. So that has been beared in mind at the whole process of this. And following up, we've met with FA staff to ensure that we're following the correct process. And since that's all been agreed, the board at Middlesex FA and the senior management team have also given it the green light to go ahead and roll it out for you. If for those of you who've already read the affiliation manuals and website articles, you probably have seen the fees already. But for those of you who haven't, we'll touch on those in a little bit. So just as a recap, so for the previous season, so this season that's just gone, 2022-23, we had club fees and team fees. So adult club fee £20, youth club fee £8, and then the team fees as £15 and £7 respectively. And then this on the screen here is what the team fees will look like for the season. So what you've seen there is a bit more of a scaled approach. So those teams that affiliate from the Premier League, EFL, and tiers 1 to 2 of the women's football pathway will be charged a team fee at £80. And the reason for that is because, you know, the greater revenues received by those clubs, there should, you know, be a scaled process in order to make sure that the burden isn't placed too much on the grassroots game. Steps 1 to 6 is increased to £60, and tiers 3 to 4 of the women's football pathway is also at £60. The fees that we mentioned earlier in regards to £15 team fees for adults previously and £7 for youth teams is now increased by £5 each. So that is £20 and £12 respectively. Obviously, if you are just affiliating one team in your club, then you probably will actually have a reduction in fees, because for an adult team with one adult club with one team previously, you'd be spending £35, whereas now you'd be just spending £20. And again, for youth teams, for just one team in the past, it would have been £15 with a club and team fee, and just £12 for one team fee now. Appreciate that's quite rare, and a lot of you on this call may have various teams, and you might be particularly big clubs, and of course that will no doubt impact you a little bit more. So to illustrate kind of some of our working on that and how, you know, kind of what we've taken into consideration on that, we just want to show you this just to kind of put across our rationale in terms of what's happened here. And then before we do that, just to kind of mention really that, you know, our prices for affiliation have been frozen since the 2016-17 season. So we've had no increase in costs since then, which is quite a considerable amount of time. A lot of things have changed in that period in terms of technology, staff and structure at the organisation, and to keep those prices constant for a long time has obviously been a positive. And as well as that, the affiliation costs for teams and clubs were free during the 2020-21 season during the COVID-19 pandemic. Part of the reason for the increase in costs, obviously, the new model is the main factor. That the loss of club fee revenue meant that we had to restructure the team fees. Like I mentioned, previous fees being frozen for a number of years meant that it was almost a natural progression. The economy and obviously, you know, increased costs for the organisation as well. And finally, the level of service. So obviously, with the frozen costs for previous years, and you know, different challenges that we've had in regards to COVID-19 and staff getting through that, we feel that we've been able to maintain a good level of customer service, and in order to keep those staff standards and keep the best in class in place, we feel like it's important to you know, make sure that that is accounted for as well. So what we've conducted is, and just to show you tonight, is a few dip samples of how this process might look financially for clubs of different makeups. So for example, club number 1 here, so they're made up of 4 adult teams and 2 youth teams. So the overall change in costs for that club, when you take away the previous club fee, will be just an increase of £10. And if you were to split that amongst teams and divide that by the 6 teams, you're looking at an increase of less than £2 per team that's affiliated. Example number 2. So as you can see, a bit of a larger increase in terms of the monetary value that you see on the screen. But obviously, as you can see, this club affiliates 31 teams made up of 1 adult team and 30 youth teams. Removing the club fees as in previous years, the overall change in cost is an increase of £135. And again, you know, appreciate on the face of it that will look like a big increase, and happy to take any questions on this a little bit later on. But again, broken down, it will be just about £4 plus per team, and as an increase for next season. So again, hopefully illustrating this will kind of get across that we have thought about the impact on the clubs, and hopefully you'll be able to realise that through looking at this presentation now. Again, a club who affiliates 6 adult teams only So no youth teams will have an increase in cost of just £10. So again, very minimal across those teams. Please bear in mind as well that this model is just showing the team fees for non-NLS, so adult and youth. Obviously, those clubs that have teams at different step levels from 1 to 6 and the EFL and the Premier League will be slightly different to account for that increased cost as well. So please keep that in mind if you're on the call from one of those teams and clubs as well. And then finally, club example 4, a club with 15 youth teams only has a total increase of cost of £67 across the 15 teams. So again, split between all of them. My maths isn't the best, but I think that's around £4 per team as well. So hopefully, again, that just illustrates the working and some of the things that we've taken into consideration. We also, during our research process, had various different models that we used, so different price points that you can see to here. And ultimately, this is the one that met the needs of our stakeholders the most in terms of minimising impact and cost on those for the season. Perfect. So again, that is a little bit of a introduction into the new affiliation process. And when we do the system demo a little bit later on, that will become clearer for you. But before we do so, we wanted to touch on insurance today. So again, really stripping it back to a basic level. Those of you on the call, some of you may have done the affiliation process before and some of you may not. So to cater for all, we just want to confirm that there is one public liability cover needed for each club. So per club, you need one public liability document, and then per team, you require a personal accident cover. So for example, if you had a club with 15 teams, you would only need one public liability cover, but each team would need personal accident cover. So therefore 15 policies, one per team. So hopefully that's quite clear. And again, once you go into the system, you'll be able to see, and you go through the affiliation process, you'll be able to see that. And for example, if you have a club with 30 teams, once you've uploaded one public liability document, the system will no longer require that for any of your other teams. Cost for UK Global. So again, just spoken and justified a little bit of price increase, but really happy to announce that the insurance premiums with UK Global for this season will be staying exactly the same, which is really important. And again, a lot of work between both parties in terms of making sure that that is the case, and that we're supporting our clubs as best as we possibly can in different aspects. So if you're not aware of what the prices were last year, so the public liability insurance cover per club is £24. The adult insurance is £69 per team for the personal accident cover, and the personal accident cover for youth teams is £18 per team. So that's £24 per club for the public liability, £69 per accident cover for adult teams, and £18 per personal accident cover for youth teams as well. One thing that we will be able to do in the new system is build in different levels of cover. So in years gone by on the system, you've only been able to select the basic package, which is the cost that I've just referred to then. What you will have though is some different levels of cover that's available to you. So what we'll be able to do is build in those policy documents, put a little bit of description in terms of the extra benefits that policy gives you, and that way you can make more of an informed decision as to the needs of the cover per team. I'm sure many of you may have had situations where you've considered, or you have actually claimed off your personal accident insurance cover, and maybe thought, that's all you need, or you've maybe thought, could do with a policy that offers a better benefit for a particular area. If that is the case, then obviously this system will be perfect, because it will be able to inform you exactly what different levels of cover there are available, and give you that informed choice like I just touched on. Mentioned this a little bit earlier about the automated system, but again, just to reconfirm, so those teams who adopt UK Global insurance policies will be able to process through the affiliation system almost automatically, as the policy documents will already be on the system, and therefore they won't require any review from staff or from the county FA in regards to ensuring that you have the minimum level of cover. For example, if you're with a different insurance company, that is absolutely fine. You can still affiliate, but there might just be a longer lead time in regards to response from the county FA office, in regards to just checking those insurance documents and making sure that the minimum level of requirements are met. So just something to keep in mind. If you aren't with UK Global at the moment and are interested, please let me know, and we can facilitate you getting involved and purchasing documents and policies through them. Just a quick note, and this is obviously partly for the recording, but if there are any teams from step 1 to 4 on the call tonight, from the Isthmian League or Vanarama National League, please remember that you would purchase your insurance directly through your respective league scheme. So don't worry about that for UK Global or Bluefin or any other company. Go straight directly through your league, and the system will be designed to pick that up and allow you to flow through the system in that way if you're at a step at the, if you're a team at that step. Also at the bottom it says about making sure you have the necessary top-up insurance, so please do make sure that you contact your respective leagues to make sure that you're fully covered and ready to go for the new season. Perfect. So some more changes. So safeguarding, you know, something that's ever changing year on year as the processes improve and get tighter. As I mentioned earlier, one of the mandatory fields for affiliation will be adopting a safeguarding declaration, but also changes will come in for adult teams and disability teams as well. So for adult teams, at least one adult team, all clubs, sorry, with at least one adult team will be required to name a welfare officer for season 2023-24, which will be a mandatory requirement for affiliation. So for this season, there is no further action. They don't have to have a particular qualification to take that role, but somebody does need to be in there just as a point of contact, and somebody that is there acting in that role to look out for the welfare of their adult players. Obviously, with the increase of different things that come up in safeguarding now, you know, mental health issues and other bits like that, you know, there is an increased requirement and need for safeguarding for adult players and people at all ages, really. So like I said, no further action to be taken this season, but from 24-25, somebody in that position will need to have a valid DBS check. So just to keep that in mind, if you have somebody in that role for the season, please use the time in the season to make sure that they do get a DBS check and that you're ready to go for the same process next season. In addition, all managers and coaches of adult teams containing 16 and 17-year-old players must have a valid DBS check by the following season as well. So please consider action in this as soon as possible. So similar to the above, so all clubs and all coaches and managers with teams containing 16, 17-year-olds must have a valid DBS check by the 24-25 season. So not next season, but the year after. And also for that season, people taking up the welfare officer for adult teams role must also have a valid DBS check. If you're not sure on how to go about the DBS process, if you're an adult team that's not had to do that before, please contact our safeguarding team at safeguarding@middlesexfa.com. Safeguarding for youth teams. So there's only one thing that's changed in this. However, it's good to kind of revisit the whole process just to make sure there's no grey areas, and especially for those new teams and clubs who will be watching this recording back. So, you know, the requirements for youth teams are extensive, and the full list is below. So you can see here, so all club officials must have completed the safeguarding for committee members module online. So that includes secretary, chairman, treasurer and welfare officer. So that is a minimum requirement. The secretary, chairman and treasurer doesn't need to complete anything else. So for affiliation, those three roles can complete that module online and then move on with the process. The welfare officer, though, has further requirements to complete. So as well as that, they must have also completed the welfare officer workshop, a DBS check and the safeguarding children course through the FA. Further to this, all team officials, so including managers and coaches, must have completed an FA DBS check as well as the safeguarding children course. So as I mentioned earlier, the safeguarding children course also must be completed this season in order to affiliate as a manager or coach. Just another point to mention, it says there about an FA DBS check is needed. So if you are an employee of a school, work for the police or any other organisation, unfortunately, as it stands at the moment, your DBS check wouldn't be compliant for operating within the FA and the football system. So please make sure that you do go out there and get a DBS check. And again, contact us at Middlesex if you need any guidance on how to do so. But yeah, really just important to know that, because we have a lot of teams and clubs who have got through to late stages of the season in terms of affiliating, thinking that they've got everything ready. But unfortunately, as you know, the system won't update with a DBS check unless that you've done one through the FA directly. And then finally, safeguarding for disability teams. So it'll be mandatory for clubs from this season who have one disability team or more to have a named welfare officer for this season, who must also have completed a safeguarding adults module through the England Learning platform before the team can be affiliated. So these models can be found, like I said, on the England Learning platform. If you go onto that website and hover over courses, you should see all of them form in a drop-down list and enable you to access them. For complete clarity, I believe this slide here shows all of the courses that I've mentioned and just a little bit of detail in terms of costs, completion time, and how that works. So as you can see, all of them are online. The Safeguarding Children Recertification, Safeguarding for Committee Members, and Safeguarding Adults course is a course that you can complete in your own time and is something that you can move from slide to slide, and is about an estimated 1 hour completion time. The Safeguarding Children and Welfare Officer courses are obviously paid, and therefore there is a facilitator, but it will be online on Microsoft Teams or Zoom on a similar space to what we're doing tonight. So £25 and £30 respectively, and a 2 hour completion time. Please note that there has been some changes to areas. So for example, those completing the new Safeguarding Children course, that will be valid for 2 years rather than the previous 3. However, what you will have the opportunity to do is then access the Safeguarding Children recertification every 2 years, which is free. So there won't be any additional cost. So there will be an additional cost, but again, that will then result in just a free recertification after that. Please note as well that the Welfare Officer course at the moment does not have an expiry date. So once completed, that will continue until there's any more information. So it might be that the course is revamped in years to come and therefore requires updating, but at the moment that wouldn't be the case. So again, another one-off cost, and no need to recertify for that one. And then finally, again, just feel free to take a note. I'll leave that on the screen for another 10 or 15 seconds before I move on, just to give you the opportunity to take down that address so you can access those courses following this session. Brilliant. So we've come to the point where we are going to run through a bit of a system demo, and then also run through how to enter county cups and manage that process as well. So hopefully this won't take any more than 10-15 minutes, but I'm going to try and base this demo around the checklist that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to go through those step by step to give everybody the best opportunity in understanding exactly how it's going to look. Please note that at the moment, as Affiliation isn't live, you won't have access to all of these files on Club Portal at the moment. So unfortunately, you won't be able to go through the system as we're going along here. But as soon as it goes live, you'll be able to then have a look at the system and have a play around. In the meantime, what I would suggest to do, like I say, refer to this. The FA have released a lot of useful guidance as well already, and just really make sure that you're familiar with how the process should look before you get to using it in June. Just before I do that, I'm just going to show you quickly a bit of the user interface of each system. So this is obviously the system that we operated with from last season and before that. So the whole game system, as you can see on there, 8 stages, and I'm sure all of you remember at stages 7 and 8, you required a bit of intervention from the County FA in regards to checking those and reviewing. And again, a longer process, and as you can see, the system looks a little bit dated and in need of an update and refresh. The Club Portal affiliation process will look something similar to this. So again, no longer 8 steps, but instead just 5. And touching on what I said earlier, for those of you who will be with UK Global, two of those 5 stages are about insurance. So if you've got an automated process and going to be purchasing policy documents through UK Global, you'll seamlessly move through 2 of those 5 steps without any need for review. So hopefully that just shows a little bit of the user interface and how that's a bit more user friendly. And also, like I said earlier, the Teams tab is where you will find this information about affiliation. I'm sure most of you would have used the Players tab by now, or the My Club or Dashboard sections for those of you who've been completing your England accreditation applications. But what we're going to mainly focus on is Teams, officials, payments, and a little bit of My Club as well. I'm going to quickly end this PowerPoint, and I'm hoping you can still see my screen here. So in order to log into the Club Portal, the domain name is clubs.thefa.com. Mine is slightly different here because I'm using the testing version, but yeah, clubs.thefa.com. You'll come onto the system here, and again, just to reiterate, this is a testing version, so you can see here the pre-prod environment. So a lot of these features aren't quite live yet, but hopefully this will give you a bit of a steer on how to do so. Here as you can see, and this should be active on your club portal at the moment, you should have the option to take a tour in regards to a team affiliation for next season. So if you do want to do that and just have a play around a bit, feel free to click on that little dot there, take the tour, and then the system will be able to show you around some of the new processes and procedures for next season. So like I said, I'm going to go through the checklist that I touched on earlier, step by step. So the first thing we're going to do is check club officials and qualifications. So if you are having a bit of a restructure in your club this season and you have any key officials that need to be changed, where you do that is under the officials tab here and access key officials. So for me, as you can see, football services, I am a one-man band, so I'm taking up the role of secretary, chairperson, treasurer and welfare officer. As you can see in here, I'm the only official there. If you wanted to add another official, you could do so here. And again, similar to the way that you search under player registration, you can search by name or you can search by fan and date of birth if you have those details as well. What will then happen is that detail will then be put onto this screen here, and then it will give you the opportunity when you select here. So if you want to change secretary, you would click here, and then you can add a new official there again. Or if you've already done so, they will appear on the drop-down list in place of myself. And the same for chairperson, treasurer and welfare officers. One thing it will do is notify you of if you've added a welfare officer and they don't have a welfare officer course, it will notify you of that and it won't allow you to add them until they have got that in place. One thing you can also do is check safeguarding qualifications. So again, so officials tab, safeguarding qualifications. I know a lot of you will have a considerable amount of coaches. Obviously, I'm the only one for this particular club at the moment. For those of you who want more of an easy look through of your coach qualifications, just export the team officials here and you'll be able to download an additional file that you can update and download and keep up to date as you go along. But yeah, what it will do is list all the safeguarding requirements and also tell you any required action. So, for example, if you did have a coach or manager who had a DBS check that was due to expire in a month's time, it would be then put under the required action tab. And obviously, again, the onus would be on yourselves as a club to go in there and just regularly check that to make sure that everything's up to date. So it might just be that you have, you know, a 10-minute period each week, just going on there, checking through them, contacting anybody if they need anything updating, and then just monitoring it like that to make sure that you're never behind on those sort of requirements. The next thing will be about grounds. So just to show you really here for a first start. So as I said before, officials and team grounds are official requirements before you move through to the next step. So as you can see here, this team has a ground linked already, which is Rectory Park, which is great. However, this team has no ground available. So what you can do is press actions here. If you've already got club ground set up, you can simply just assign a ground to a team. You go back to the teams tab and then everything is ready to go. If I was to remove that back off there, I'll show you something else. So if you knew that ground didn't relate to the first team and in fact you actually had a new ground to add for next season, what you can do is go to My Club, click to grounds here, and you can then find, searching by postcode, place name or region, or on the Pitch Finder map, you can find the site that you're looking for. And again, you can then, once that's on there, you can then assign it to this team. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to keep both teams at Rectory Park just so we can move through the system. Another point I mentioned previously was about adopting safeguarding documents and declarations. So again, under the My Club tab, you can view your documents. So next to where you saw grounds, documentation will be here. And then you have safeguarding declarations. And I've already done this when I was doing a demo today to make sure it worked. But you can see if you need to download them, you can. And you can simply read through and have a look and make sure that you're maintaining those declarations throughout the season. And again, if you need to resubmit anytime, you can do so by pressing this button here. So very simple, but please do make sure that the safeguard declarations aren't a tick box for you and that you do thoroughly read those and that they're disseminated within the club as well to make sure that all club officials and everybody involved has a full understanding of how to, you know, what sort of standards to upkeep really. So the next thing would be to tidy up any folded teams. So the easiest way to do this, so you have the opportunity to do this now, if you go onto the club portal under teams, if you're looking to fold a team, you simply click onto the team name and you can see here, fold team, and then you can put the reason for it. And it will then give you the opportunity to write any additional information. One thing to note, and this is a really important one, please do not fold the team unless you're absolutely sure that they're going to fold and there's no chance they can come back. Reason for this is that having folded the team, it will remove all players, officials and league memberships. So if you weren't sure and you thought maybe it's best to wait a couple of weeks, then we would recommend you doing that. Otherwise, you would be in a position where you have to register those players again from scratch. And obviously that causes far more admin stress and burden than you need. So please do make sure you only do that when it's really, really necessary. Another one, and this is quite important, so assigning teams to leagues. So as you can see on here at the moment, so it says for one, they're unaffiliated, which is what yours will say when affiliation goes live on the first day. But also it doesn't mention a league. So what it will have for you at the moment, it will pre-populate the leagues that you're in for last season. And also those of you with youth teams, say for example, you have an under 15s team, they will automatically be placed here as under 16s for next season. And again, if the format was going to change, so if they were moving from under 12s to under 13s, the format would then automatically move from 9v9 from 11v11. However, if you did want to change at any time, you can simply go in and change any of the details just in here. Very simply, you can change the format, can change the age group, anything that you like from there. So very simple. But like I said, I will show you how to assign to a league now. So simply manage competitions, assign to leagues. And this is where we'll manage county cups, and we'll go on that in a little bit further in this demonstration. So you assign to leagues. So for example, if I just wanted to assign the first team, what you can do is assign them in bulk. So if you had, for example, 8 youth teams that were all in the Harrow Youth League, you could click on all of those, go to next, and then search Harrow Youth League and assign them all at once rather than having to go through the process 8 separate times. However, for this one, as I've got a male and female team split, what I will do is just select the first male team, go through to the next stage. And for example, if I wanted to join the Middlesex County League, I would search that and up comes the leagues that you're looking for. So in my case, I'm going to join the Middlesex County League Saturday, confirm, and straight away you can see that there. So what that means, and just for information, the FA are running through with leagues and competitions their own session tonight. So we'll have a little bit more clarity in terms of how it appears from a league setup point. And as soon as the recording's available for that, we'll attach it to the communication that we send about affiliation in the coming weeks as well, just so you can see what they're notified of. And as far as we're aware, they should get a notification that you're affiliated and you've selected their league, and it will give them the opportunity to review their entries and liaise with you about moving divisions and different things like that when they're going through their constitution. Again, just to reiterate that process, I'm going to do it again for the women's team, just to really clarify how it looks. So again, if I wanted to join the Greater London Women's League, simple, search it, confirm, and there you go. Straight away, it's ready there. As you probably just saw when I was hovering over this menu, you can remove from a league at any point. So, if you thought, oh, completely, not been thinking about what I've been doing, or just made a mistake, or you've made the decision to pull teams out of a certain league and move to another, you can simply do so, remove from league, and the similar process will follow in terms of just marking them off from there. So hopefully that makes sense. That is just a brief tour in terms of how to get to different parts of the system. Many of it you've probably come across already just through tidying your systems as you go. And if that's the case, then brilliant, because it's nothing new. But for those of you who are doing it for the first time, please do refer back to this, as it will be a helpful guide in terms of how to update these things as you go along. So now you've made those changes, you've updated everything, you're happy with your leagues, you're happy with your team requirements, you've spent the time from May until June making sure everything's ready. The first day of affiliation comes and you're ready to affiliate your teams. So what you would do is simply affiliate teams here, and here you're met with just some further information. So all this is just a reminder in regards to what you'll need. So club details, so validating that your club has the required key officials, ground information and documents uploaded. Team selection, so where teams eligible for affiliation can be selected, And like I mentioned earlier, there might be some teams that you have that aren't ready, and therefore you don't have to select them for affiliation straight away. You can do one team at a time, or you can do all at once when they're all ready. It's completely up to you. Obviously, insurance is another major one, and if applications will either be automatically approved or will require approval from your county FA for various of the reasons that we've already touched on in regards to insurance, and maybe qualifications not being up to date. Those are the sort of things that require intervention and review from us. As it says here, you can make multiple affiliation applications. So you could affiliate 2 teams one night, 2 teams the next night, and do it in bite-sized chunks. Or again, you can just do a bulk affiliation and just affiliate them all at once. Before you apply, this is just a reminder of all the things that we've already touched on. So we won't go over any of it in more detail, but please do look back through that to make sure that you're not met with any hold-ups and potentially frustrated when going through the process. As we started on with the start of the presentation, just again, a quick definition of what affiliation is and the purpose of it. So now to start the process, just to show you how it will look. So you'll be met with something like this for your first step. So step 1 of 5 is club details. So as I touched on earlier, in my club here for football services, I am the only club official there. So that's fine, I can stay in those roles. However, if you get to this stage and think, oh, I didn't actually update that before, you can simply update there and make the necessary changes. And similar for your main grounds there as well. Safeguarding declarations has been listed there. If you need to resubmit or adopt for the first time, you can do. And that is just an overview of what's going on. If for whatever reason something in here is non-compliant to the point where it needs review, the system won't let you process. So at the moment, we've got an application pending here that says your club has outstanding overdue debts, which may prevent you from affiliating teams. So that's again something that we'll have to review. So again, it's well worth showing as part of the demo. So confirm that you've checked all of the above and it's an accurate record, and you move on to the next stage. So what you can see here, so you can select teams to affiliate. So what you can do is bulk do it here. So again, if you're a really big club, got 40 plus teams, click on all of them and it will just select the ones that are ready to be affiliated. And then you can simply move through to the next stage. And then again, if you want to be more selective, simply just remove that from a team and you can just affiliate them at a later date. So I'm going to select both for now, move on to the next step. And here you will be required to confirm your insurance. So here you've got the option to purchase club insurance through the county FA or upload club insurance. And for example, if you were to click this, this is where you would be required to upload manually your details and policy documents, whereas the top one here is just showing that you're willing to purchase through UK Global and through the county FA. So clicking on there, you would simply click that you want to take that policy out, and again, it's set up as £24 and that will be staying the same for next season. Straight through to the next stage. So no hold up, straight through. And again, if you want to purchase through UK Global, click on the top one, or alternatively manually upload it, and that's completely up to you. Move through to the next stage. At the moment, we've only got the basic product there as it's not quite been built in terms of the different levels of cover. But what you will have the opportunity to do is see from a drop-down list the different levels of cover, the different prices and what is available. And then what you can see here is you have the option to actually view the insurance document straight away. So instead of having to contact the county FA for your documents, whether you need them for ground hire or just to claim on policy documents, you should be able to access those through the club portal at point of affiliation or afterwards, and refer to them at any point throughout the season. So simply select and you can apply to all. So if you think that is eligible, so it's just making sure that that's the right product that you need. If you think it's eligible to all of your teams, you can press that. It should have updated. I'll have to feed that one back. There's always something, but you should be able to go through simply like that. And then what it will do is give you just a breakdown in terms of your overall fee. So for example, here you can see team fees are £40. So remember, no club fees. 2 adult teams are affiliated, so £20 each. The club insurance for the one policy for the club is £24. And the team insurance for 2 lots of adult personal accident cover is £138, so 2 times of £69, and that leaves you with a total amount of £202. Simply submit. Your affiliation has been submitted, and then all we will have to do there is just simply press approve from the county portal, and that is everything that you need to do, and it's absolutely as simple as that. Again, you know, normally the pendency FA stage would be there at a much earlier stage when you're reviewing cups, insurance, and it will flag up for us on the system that your application is submitted and ready to be approved, so it can be done in a matter of minutes. So hopefully that's a bit of a useful demo. Before I open up just to any questions in the end of the presentation, I'm just going to show you a couple of different things that you can do. So like I mentioned earlier, you know, say you get into the winter and you get in some interest from players and officials about creating a new team, you can do so at any point. Doesn't matter if you've affiliated all your teams already. You can create your team here, select what type of football you play, age group, if they've got any disabilities, what format, what day you play, gender, whether it's boys, female or mixed, enter your team name, and then you can create your team, and then it will pop up on here, and it will give you the opportunity to affiliate your teams in the same way that you have for these as well, and go through that same process. And the very last thing I want to show you is entry to county cups. So I mentioned earlier about managing the county cups, and it is different. So in years gone by, it would have been built in as part of the process of what I've just gone through now. However, the decision's been made to make that an external process, often because a lot of clubs are automatically entered on the system for county cups, which requires a lot of review, and kind of, you know, teams in the county FA aren't sure of which teams actually wish to enter and which don't, which then results in a lot of walkovers in early rounds of competitions. So now for this season, you have to externally manage and opt into county cup competitions, and there won't be any automated system for that, hopefully giving you, again, greater control over exactly what you're entering. So manage competitions and manage county cups. What you can do is click on a team here. So for example, the first team, and it will come up with a relevant county cup. So please note, and this is just a disclaimer, that these fees aren't correct. So just as a reminder, this is a tested environment at the moment. So when it goes live, these fees will be up to £20 as they were for adult county cup entries as of last season, and £16 for youth entries as well. So please just note that those prices will be remaining the same. But what you can do is click on Junior Cup, for example, confirm and submit. And then again, you've then entered on the system the County Cup for the Middlesex FA Junior Cup, which is something that will be sent to us, which we can then review, make sure that you're in the relevant cup to your standard, and then we will make the draws and get on with the competition in a really simple manner. Just going through the process one more time, just to show you how it works for the women's side. Same again, click on there, and here you've got the Capital Women's Junior Cup section. Confirm and submit, and it will show on there. The only part I won't be able to show you tonight is the payment section. So for example, when the County FA will confirm this application here, what will happen is the invoices from the club affiliation fees will automatically drop into here. So you'll be able to pay that by card if you wish to. If for whatever reason, you know, you don't have a card at your club and you pay through cheque or any other way, please let us know and we can manage that payment manually. But the default position of the system will be that it comes on here. You can then click on the invoice and it will be a button over here that says make payment, and you can simply enter your card details and make payment for your affiliation and or county cup entries at any point that you want to do it. So that will be something that's built in, and please do refer to the FA demo that's been recorded, as they may be able to provide a bit more clarity on that particular section of the system. Thanks very much for that. So that is just a run through of the system and how it will look for you. Like I said, will be very different when you actually start playing around with it yourselves, and I'm sure because of that very reason you'll have questions on the first week of affiliation, and that's absolutely fine. Please feel free to email ourselves, affiliation@middlesexfa.com, or pick up the phone and one of us will be able to help. Just before we close off for tonight, just want to reiterate the resources that we have available for you all. So We have already some website articles and PDF guidance documents around the team affiliation. So different things in regard to why the process has changed, the different prices, and how you can complete the process for the season, similar to what we've gone through tonight, but just in picture format and written form. Also on there is, if you've not seen it before, this is how the grassroots technology knowledge base looks. So if you need to go onto there and you don't know how to access that already, please let us know and we can send a link out following this session and get you onto that. On this England Football Portal section here, you'll find some useful guides on affiliation, and I believe the club session that they ran on Monday evening is already on there as a recording. So please do go on there. They'll have some useful FAQs, some useful guidance and checklists to refer to. So please do use their support throughout. You know, they've obviously built the system, so are often best placed to answer technical queries, and you know, no doubt they'll be on hand to support us and you going through the process. Last thing is around just contact. So just to reconfirm, as I mentioned earlier, any safeguarding concerns or DBS queries will go to safeguarding@middlesexfa.com and affiliation queries to affiliation@middlesexfa.com. Just to remember that for all of you if you're not already aware. And then finally, just next steps and timeline. So in March of this year, we had approval from board and the FA in regards to the prices that were set. And obviously we're then able to move forward with affiliation communication and also testing of the new system to then feed back to the FA and give them some final feedback before they complete that process at the end of this month. So as you can see, May 23, final testing and update of the portal. And then for our county, so this is a vital piece of information. In years gone by, the process is open on the 1st or the 1st of June or the first Monday of June. This season for Middlesex FA, due to it being staggered across all counties in the country, we've been chosen to go on the 3rd week of June. So starting on the 19th of June for our go live date. And then the County Cup entry deadline will be the 31st of July, as it has been in previous seasons. So obviously, as you can see on there, the deadlines are a little bit tighter, and I'm sure that will give you probably slightly less time in order to meet your league deadline. So really sympathetic with that, and can, you know, make sure we provide even more support for that very reason. Hopefully the system being a little bit more simple to navigate and work through yourselves will make that more simple, but really aware of the tight deadlines there, so we'll provide any support that we can to you as we go forward. Just another note there, as you can see in brackets, so teams at steps 1 to 6 in the male or female pathway will be able to go live a week before, and that is the case for all counties in the country, not just Middlesex. So they will be able to affiliate from the 12th of June, and that is for 2 reasons really. To help with the traffic on the system, just to avoid any potential teething issues or overcrowding on the system in its first couple of weeks, and also the fact that teams at these steps often enter into FA competitions which start in July or August, so the need for them to affiliate quicker is a little bit more needed in terms of that earlier timescale. So that's how it looks. So again, if you need to take a picture, just keep these dates in your diary. And one thing that we will say is please do use the time now. We've got about a month for you all to get ready and prepared for this. So use that time to review all your documents, all your details, and hopefully that will make the process really, really smooth for you. So thank you all for listening to the presentation, the demo, and all the information that's come.